Married couples who sleep in separate rooms, why do you do this?
Silent scan.
My grandparents do this. My grandfather built a small apartment on the second floor of their house. They do it because they have different sleep schedules, and in general they spend much of the day apart because they like it that way. But they always eat lunch and dinner together, and my grandfather loves to listen to her soft footsteps throughout the day. He calls her the woman next door. It's really cute.
Silent scan.
Girlfriend's parents do this. They both snore and do it to get away from each other snoring. I didn't think it was that bad until they talked about having to sleep in the same bed during their trip in Europe. They were at each other's throats because if one fell asleep, the other couldn't.
Silent scan.
During the summer I moved to another room we call the wind tunnel. Basically I have a ceiling fan going almost 24/7 and a window fan above the bed I run from 7 PM to 8 AM. She has allergies and easily gets runny nose and sneezes from any moving air. My body temp will skyrocket and I'll sweat like crazy in a room devoid of moving air. So she sleeps in a stuffy no air movement master bedroom and I sleep soundly in the wind tunnel. During the winter I move back, cause then I become the ultimate body warmer for her.
Silent scan.
My parents slept in separate beds as did my great grandparents. For my great grandparents it was a comfort thing. Grandma didn't like not being able to move around the bed at will. She and grandpa loved each other dearly and she passed not long after he did because she missed him so much. For my parents it was a couple things. As my dad aged his sleep cycle went weird. He would be able to sleep a couple hours and then be up half the night and fall asleep again about the time my mom was getting up for work. Also my mom has sleep apnea and uses a CPAP. It made hella noise back then. Dad was half deaf and the sound still bothered him. Out of respect for each other they decided it was better to have separate bedrooms.
Silent scan.
Lol. I do this. I'm an absolute terrible person to share a bed with. I snore like a passing semi-truck and apparently, I'm told, flail wildly in my sleep. When we first got married I kept waking up to an empty bed. She would join me for an hour until I was asleep, then retreat to the couch. After a week or two I got fed up and just went to the couch first. Then started several months of us trading off for the couch. Eventually I just went and bought a twin mattress and tossed it in the office. That became my bed. And when we got a bigger house, I just set up in a separate room.
Silent scan.
We blended two households. His bedroom was fully furnished and the furniture and closet were full. It made sense for my stuff to go in a different bedroom. We started out sleeping in one room or the other, but I realized pretty quickly that if I ever wanted to get a full night's sleep, it wasn't going to be in the same bed with him. I've been known to call him a sweating, snoring, slant sleeping son of a bitch after a night of his sweating, snoring, and slant sleeping. We do a your place or mine thing for non-sleeping activities, but for when it's sleepy time.
Silent scan.
We are both 41, been married 23 years and sleep in different beds. First half of our marriage we always slept in the same bed. Of course there was the occasional crying kid who wanted mommy to sleep with them, or falling asleep on the couch or somewhere else. About 10 years ago I spent a year working a midnight shift, so I started sleep on our spare bed in the basement. We both realized we had much better sleep separate in our own beds. After I went back to a day shift we went back to sleeping in the same bed and soon realized sleeping apart was more restful. Over time we bought two full-size beds and put them in our bedroom, like the old TV shows. It's been great edit, so a lot of comments about intimacy. Yeah, we have sex, I'd say every bit as much as we ever did in the past. We've been married over half our life, so we are really good at knowing when fun time is going to happen. Sometimes we sleep in the same bed, there is no rules, we have to sleep separately all the time. Our beds are about a foot apart and sometimes we slide them together, especially when the kids were younger, and they'd end up in our room, along with the dog edit too. Yes, we got married at 18. We went to prom together, and girlfriend somehow got pregnant after prom. when we stopped for soda. So we got married.
Silent scan.
I have an aunt and uncle who do this. They're just hyper independent, mostly fueled by her, so they eat dinner together, but do pretty much everything else separately. The funny part is, if I send out invites to something like a family reunion or dinner reservations during somewhere, when we're already gathered, he'll say I'm coming, but you'll need to check with your aunt for her answer. It's certainly not how my relationship works, but they've been married for like 50 years, so I guess I don't have any reason to criticize their methods.
Silent scan.
To stay married. I would say seriously, but I'm serious. Other reasons. 1. She's an only child, never had to share. 2. I had a large family, don't want to share anymore. 3. She likes a soft mattress, and I like a firm one. 4. We both snore, but at different points in the night. 5. Night farts, not going to assign blame, there's plenty enough to go around. 6. Her cats don't like to share a bed with my dog. I could go on, but these are the highlights.
Silent scan.
My partner and I have completely separate bedrooms. We sleep over occasionally in each other's rooms. However, we both find we sleep exponentially better apart. He's a night owl, and I'm an early bird. He needs total darkness, I want to wake up with the sun. He wants one sheet, and one sheet only on him. I want 10 pounds of blankets. In addition, having a separate room allows me to decorate it however I want, have my own personal space, and keep it to the level of cleanliness I prefer. It makes me feel independent. People look at us sideways when I mention the separate rooms thing, but it's been a game changer.
Silent scan.
Early in our relationship 90% of our fights occurred in the bedroom, and it wasn't about sexy time. I like to sleep in a cold room with the fan on and white noise like a box fan. I also like to go to sleep with the TV on. She likes to sleep in a warm, still cave in complete silence and darkness. We started sleeping in separate rooms and all of a sudden we stopped 90% of our fights. Also, because we were getting real sleep out, other fights turned more into heated discussions. Also, it hasn't really affected our sex life.
Silent scan.
3 reasons. I'm prone to severe and prolonged bouts of insomnia. Separate beds allows my wife to get a full night's sleep without me disturbing her. I have a really fucked up hip that leaves me sleeping at weird angles/positions. With different beds, I can get comfy without crowding her. I'm a tall guy, so even a king-sized bed would be a challenge for us to both get comfortable in. She can't sleep without a fan on. I can't sleep with a fan on.
Silent scan.
My parents and grandparents do this. My parents because of a variety of reasons including marital strain and my dad's PTSD from the military messing with his sleep something fierce. My grandparents because of marital strain, weird non-complementary work schedules, and my grandma's quickly reaching the point where it's hard for her to walk up the stairs to the master bedroom anyway. My last boss and his wife do this. They're very happily married. He just has severe leg issues that have him tossing and turning in bed a ton in an attempt to get less uncomfortable, and they quickly realized that if either of them wanted any degree of quality sleep they'd need to have separate beds.
Silent scan.
1. He gets night terrors in the bed, but not on the couch. 2. He prefers to sleep in a lit room, and generally plays video games. Time 2 or 3. I prefer a dark quiet room. 3. He runs super hot. I like to sleep bundled up. 4. He snores really bad. He started sleeping in the living room and it's much more restful for us both. He'll sleep in the bed every once in a while, but there's a 50/50 shot he'll wake up in the morning in a terrible headspace. I miss him in bed but all the animals sleep with me when he's not there. Plus I don't have to be worried about him flailing in his sleep and elbowing or punching me on accident. We are working on 1 and 4. But honestly when we have a bigger place we will probably just have separate beds.
Silent scan.
We both fight ninjas in our sleep and she likes to sleep on a feathery cloud, whereas I prefer a rock. She sleeps in complete silence and I need the TV going. Sleeping in the same bed actually makes us grouchy, and we fight way more. Our relationship is way better when we aren't chewing nails from sleep deprivation.
Silent scan.
I've been married for 22 years. Got married young, and in the military, we actually went the distance. Marriage is about sharing your life and happiness with someone else, and feeling like you can rely on them long term. It's not about being up their ass 24/7, and feeling uncared about when the other one has their own shit going on. And in that vein, it's the end of the day, you're tired, just want to get to bed. To have somebody else there literally every single night who has different agendas and time schedules just sucks. And speaking of sucking, there is no shortage of booty calls from down the hall when the call of the wild comes. We joke about just leaving some money on the nightstand. It's great.
Silent scan.
This is a conversation we seem to have with every single guest who comes over for the first time. Lol, whoa, you guys sleep in separate bedrooms. You all just got married. It started out because we had different sleeping cycles and different desires. Temperatures add to that I have chronic back issues, so I need to lie in weird positions. But the biggest reason now? My wife and I take each other out on dates, and once in a while we'll have sleepovers. It's silly because we are married, live together, and see each other all the time, but it gives us those first crush butterflies to sleep over when it's not a daily thing. It's nice to feel infatuated with my wife once in a while in that kind of way. Sounds weird, but it works for us, lol.
Silent scan.
He snores like a freight train and I'm a light sleeper. We tried for 5 years, then when I got pregnant I kicked him into the spare room because I was being woken up by puking at 4 AM every day and I wanted to be able to sleep during the night. It just kind of stuck, and we are much happier not sleeping together. We were both starting to resent each other over the lost sleep.
Silent scan.
Kids. Plants.
Silent scan.